Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I know it's been a little while since I've uploaded. I think it's been about 2 or 3 months since I last did the showcase repository video, and I'm really sorry for this. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I didn't really want to do an update video, it didn't really sit well with me. I just thought today I'd like to start a new series, or kind of like a nonchalant series basically, where I go through different builds in my repository world and kind of discuss the thought process that went behind building them. Because, you know, I like sharing the screenshots and stuff, but I don't necessarily share the kind of thought process and what goes into making them. This is the first kind of proper house I made in Conquest Reforged on, I think I originally built this in, I don't know, I think I built this in 1.15.2, it was that or it was 1.12. This is the first kind of Bohemian style medieval build that I produced on the mod. You know, I think it came out really well. I took inspiration mainly from Kingdom Come Deliverance, of course. Great medieval game. If you haven't played it, you're missing out. Definitely check it out. And also from different medieval Minecraft creators on Discord, on like the Conquest Reforged servers, as well as Darwin Reforged and etc., as well as Twitter. Those are all really good places for inspiration, and they're where I tend to go for, you know, to see people's builds and kind of feel more inspired to build, etc. What I thought I'd do is I'll just take you guys through the different aspects of the build. The base of the build, I wanted to kind of have it so obviously it's not in like a urbanized area. I wanted this to kind of, it almost fit on like the edge of a village, or maybe perhaps in a village, which is why there's kind of foresty vegetation and stuff on the ground. You got like different types of lush grasses and ferns and bracken, etc. Because I wanted it to look kind of, you know, plenty of vegetation and stuff. It's also why you can kind of see these young trees here. These probably wouldn't make much sense. I imagine these would have been chopped down quite quickly for firewood, but you know, I thought they just looked nice. Again, as you'll see through all these builds, through each episode, my building techniques change, so things start to make more sense, or they might become more realistic as I've learned and as I've evolved my building style. So we've got some little details, those are quite important. So we've got things like barrels, etc. Got the log with the axe there for chopping firewood. In here we've got like the table, so I don't know what they would do here, you know, just for general use. Got baskets for collecting vegetables, got stacked logs, got hanging hunted meats and stuff. And here we got the kind of the veg plots, so we have kind of root-based vegetables and beans here, because those were kind of more commonplace during medieval times. You know, no potatoes. And here we obviously have a herb garden here. Obviously herbs were quite commonplace because they were used for lots of things such as medicine and whatnot. So it's obviously, because this house is quite a big courtyard, I wanted to kind of fill up with veg plots and stuff, because that makes sense really. You know, they would use the land to produce their own vegetables and stuff for sustenance. I like this fence design. I think I took inspiration from this from a build I saw on one of the Discord servers and Twitter. It works quite well, so it's basically a mixture of kind of the simple picket fences with wicker fence. Okay, so now onwards with the house. So the house is, in my mind, consists of 4 main parts. So that would be obviously the walls, the foundation, the roof, and then the interior. I like to start off with the foundation materials. So as you can see here, I've kind of used a mixture of different materials. So depending on the kind of foundation I want to go for, I tend to use green schist cobble, or I use a regular andesite, because these kind of, they have a similar color tone, but they're also different at the same time, so they work quite well together. As you can see, it's not just a flat foundation either. I like to create a little bit of variation in terms of the depth of the foundation around the edges. Well, that is a mistake there. Ooh. Let's fix this. There we go. So I like to create a bit of variation with the foundation just to make it look a bit more interesting, because obviously it's not going to be super neat. It's not like modern day builds. They would have been kind of stacked rocks, etc. and whatnot. So yeah, I just like to add a bit of variation that makes it more interesting. And again, next up we've got the walls. So for these walls I decided to use like a worn white plaster. So this is using the worn white plaster block and white plaster to kind of create a not so busy plaster texture. So where I wanted there to kind of be worn plaster, I've used the worn plaster, but then when I want it to kind of be more pale and clear, I've used just the normal white plaster to kind of create that look, just so it doesn't look so busy. And then for this section here, I've used the wall of spruce logs, the wall of logs in general. There's various different versions, so you kind of got the birch, you got spruce, there's oak as well, you know, and also there's old spruce as well. That's kind of nice. Yeah, there's loads of different variants, and they allow you to have kind of different colors and logs and stuff, like I've done here for example on this build, but we're not going to get into this one today. So yeah, I don't know, I kind of like how it's, I wouldn't say it's half and half, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't, but it's quite realistic, because obviously plastering and whitewashing walls was quite expensive, and as you can kind of see from the worn white plaster, this is perhaps a house where they can't necessarily afford to maintain that, you know, for all the time at least. So that's kind of why a large amount of the house is made out of log here. Obviously that's easier to obtain. And then obviously for the roof, it's just a basic thatch roof. Now, as you can see, I think I nailed the shape. I'm really happy with this shape. Again, I think nowadays I tend to do kind of what you can see here, and also, well, you can't really see it, kind of over on the in there, although it's not the best example, to kind of mix in darker thatch to kind of show aged thatch, or kind of water damaged thatch, or, you know, just kind of age and use essentially, because that's kind of good to show in medieval builds, because it kind of gives a sense of depth and age, which is great for kind of establishing the build. Also, I just realised I didn't touch upon the side bit, so obviously I like having this overhang here. Again, that wasn't necessarily on every single house then, but I just like the look of it here. I think it looks good, and it kind of makes the side of the buildings look more interesting. Obviously I've got kind of windows in placed here using the window halves and stuff. Those are great for kind of creating small windows. And obviously at the top here I've got some stacked firewood here, which kind of creates a different block to kind of signify that you kind of got the hole at the side of the roof here for smoke to escape, which looks quite good. And then on the top I've got some wicker fences, which when placed singly kind of create these sticks, which are meant to signify holding the thatch in place. However, I think at this scale it looks kind of silly. Again, it's a nice touch, although I could probably do better than that. Again, this is an old build, so you know. Okay, now we're going to look at the interior. Again, this is quite a simple interior, but then again, interiors back in medieval times were, funnily enough, quite simple. You know, not everyone was that rich, especially outside of the nobility, so, you know, they aren't going to have a lot of possessions and stuff, only perhaps even the bare necessities, really. Originally on this house here on the interior, I didn't use the wooden beams. Now recently in 1.15.2 alpha updates of Conquest Reforged, they've really kind of flushed out the different beam options here, and there are just so many variants. However, before, when I was just getting used to the mod, I used to use just kind of log walls and stuff, which it worked, but it just took up a lot of space inside of the building and just didn't really look very realistic. So quite recently I went in here and actually added proper beamwork here, which I think would represent kind of how it would be. Again, it might not be 100% accurate. I have some reference material on beams in medieval buildings, especially in Bohemia, but it's, you know, it's kind of tricky sometimes. So I've done my best here. Again, I could probably improve it. So here we kind of have the main living space. So obviously you've got your campfire. Again, it wasn't commonplace to have a stove or kind of like a fire, like a proper fireplace. That's something they have a lot in Kingdom Come Deliverance. From what I've heard, conflicting sources, that wasn't very common. I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it might have been, actually no, I can't really remember, but I don't know. So I just wanted to have kind of an open fireplace here, and that kind of fits with having the open roof, because obviously the smoke needs to escape somehow, so it goes out of the open bit there. So yeah, so it's a nice open fire pit area. We've got baskets, got the kind of clothes or cloths hanging above the fire here to dry. You've got a ladder to go up the top, however there isn't anything up here anymore. Again, I don't know what they would store up here. Perhaps it would be a sleeping area or storage for crates and whatnot. I don't know, it could be anything really. And then here we have a nice log divider which separates the kind of plastered area from the living area and eating quarters, and also the bathing area too. So a cool little detail here is these paneling boards are perfect for roofs. I can't remember exactly who told me about them because I was really struggling. It was definitely on stream, I know that. But they are just so good for you know, doing these roofs. They look really good. I've also got some herbs hanging from the roof here because again, they would want to, you know, they're growing herbs outside, therefore they want to dry them off inside and use them for whatever. Some carrots too, again root vegetables, etc. Got a bathing tub here because obviously they would want to bath, although that might not be necessarily of the time. One detail I do have here is hay on the floor. Again, I don't know if this is necessarily realistic or not. I like the look of it. I think it makes the floors look more interesting, but whether or not it's realistic is, you know, that's up to debate. I don't really do this anymore, but it kind of looked cool here. And then obviously we've got a rustic bed here and a table there for people to sit on. And we've got these cool kind of windows as well. Sorry to kind of jump from the windows. Sorry, the tables. I've got these cool windows here, so they're kind of offset into the wall with a vertical half slab with the window halves. Again, these look kind of good, and they add a bit more kind of space to the build. Another thing I like to do as well is, obviously, not all houses, medieval houses, had nice floors. It was tend to be kind of packed dirt, or kind of, you know, stuff like that. So here I've used the loamy dirt with cobblestone border, which works quite well, as the cobblestone border transitions nicely with the foundation blocks, and then you get this nice kind of bland dirt texture, which creates a nice kind of basis for the floor of the house. Okay. One last detail here, also got some coal here to signify spilt coal, although I doubt they would be that wasteful, you know, considering charcoal and stuff was very important to have a stock of. As we can see outside here with the stacked logs, obviously medieval people, or in medieval times, they would have chopped down a lot of firewood and made sure they had a plentiful supply for the winter, or whenever, or just in general really, because obviously firewood gives you your food, your warmth, your cleanliness, if that was a priority, I guess. So yeah, very important. But yeah, I think that basically, you know, I guess that ends this first video. Again, sorry if my commentary has been a bit rough. I haven't scripted this video, I just wanted to do it kind of nonchalant and kind of just record. If you guys have any questions about the build or whatnot, ask them below. I'll try and answer if I can. You can join my Discord as well if you want to share your builds. All that's linked down below. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video.